Let's be honest. There's something in the way a woman looks at you that can either unsettle you or completely stop your world for a moment. You know that moment, right? That split second where her eyes lock with yours and everything else. The noise, the people, the environment seems to fade away. You feel a pull you can't explain, a magnetic tug at your thoughts, and suddenly you're hyper-aware of every movement you make. But what is she really saying in that look? Because, trust me, it's not always what you think. Most men mistake her glance for casual curiosity or friendly acknowledgement. But there's a language in those eyes, a silent code only those who know how to read it can understand. Here's the thing. Women don't just make eye contact randomly. Every direct gaze is a decision, a moment of choice, often loaded with intention and layered meaning. And here's the raw truth. When she holds your gaze longer than a fleeting second, she's revealing more than you realize. She's testing, observing, even inviting. But she's also gauging power. In her eyes, she's weighing confidence, control, and authenticity. She's deciding if you're someone who can handle the intensity she radiates. And if you respond incorrectly, you might never get the chance again. Now, most men panic when this happens. They either look away too quickly, giving off weakness or insecurity, or they stare back too hard, coming across as aggressive or desperate. Both reactions are signals that scream, "I don't understand what's happening here," which honestly is exactly what she's trying to see. Women are masters of nonverbal communication, and eye contact is the first level of that silent dialogue. There's a subtle power struggle happening in that exchange, and your role is to navigate it with awareness, not brute force. Imagine for a moment she's standing across a crowded room. The moment her eyes meet yours, she's sending a question that has no words. Who are you, really? Can you handle the truth of me? If your mind races, if your heart beats faster, if you're tempted to act impulsively, she sees that. She knows. And that's why most men fail right here in this invisible first test. The difference between a man who captivates her attention and a man who fades into the background isn't just physical presence, it's mastery over his own reactions. Calm, measured, aware. That's what draws her deeper. That's what makes her linger. And here's a truth most men never hear. The longer she holds your gaze, the more she's unconsciously revealing her interest. Not necessarily sexual, not necessarily romantic, but a deep instinctual recognition that you're someone who stands out from the crowd. A man who's secure, grounded, and unshakable. Qualities that resonate with her on levels even she can't fully articulate. The chemistry starts with the eyes, but it doesn't end there. Those first few seconds are a preview of everything that could follow. The connection, the tension, the push and pull that defines attraction in its rawest form. So the next time a woman locks eyes with you, resist the urge to flinch, to overthink, to force a smile, or a line you think she wants to hear. Instead, breathe. Stand still. Understand that in her gaze, she's giving you a gift, a glimpse into her perception of you, into her instincts, and how you respond will shape not just the moment, but everything that could come after. This isn't about seduction, it's about awareness, it's about power. And if you read her right, it's the first step toward holding her attention in a way that lingers far beyond that single electric connection. If you've ever felt a shiver run down your spine when a woman stares at you, you're not imagining it. That gaze is a silent message, but it's layered with tests most men completely miss. Women aren't just looking. They're evaluating, probing, and sometimes even challenging you without a single word leaving their lips. And here's the truth. The way you react to that look can either pull her closer or push her away forever. Most men see direct eye contact and panic. They smile nervously, clear their throat, or, worst of all, look down. In that instant, they signal uncertainty, submission, or weakness. But here's what she's really doing. She's assessing your inner landscape. She wants to know if your confidence is genuine, if your composure is real, or if you crumble under attention. It's not just about attraction, it's about survival. A woman's instincts are finely tuned to notice who can hold his ground and who will fold like paper under pressure. When she holds your gaze longer than a glance, she's often testing multiple things at once. 1. She's measuring dominance versus submission. Not dominance in a violent sense, but emotional and psychological presence. Can you maintain your stability while she challenges it with nothing but her eyes? 2. She's testing curiosity and attention. Is your mind fully present, or are you distracted? Women sense distraction like radar. They know if you're truly here or just physically standing in the same room. And 3, she's assessing authenticity. Do your eyes tell the same story as your words? Because if your eyes betray insecurity or falseness, she notices instantly. Here's the secret most men never realize. Women communicate on a level far below words. Eye contact is a channel for emotions, intuition, and hidden desires. It's raw, unfiltered, and powerful. When she stares at you directly, she's sending signals your brain can barely process consciously. Maybe she's intrigued by your energy. Maybe she's wondering if you're a man of strength. Maybe she's imagining what it would feel like to share an unspoken connection with someone who seems unshakable. Every second counts. Every micro-expression is a clue. Every hesitation, every blink, every tiny shift in posture tells a story. And your ability to read it determines whether you pass or fail her invisible test. And here's the hardest part for most men: resisting the urge to overact. She doesn't want a performance. She wants a man who can handle intensity without trying to control it. She wants a presence that's calm, assured, and self-contained. You see, when you respond with composure instead of desperation, something magnetic happens. Her curiosity deepens. She subconsciously starts asking herself, "Who is this man? Why does he remain unshaken under my gaze?" And that question, when unanswered, begins to pull her toward you like gravity, quietly, irresistibly, without her even realizing it. Understanding this dynamic is more than a dating tip. It's a lesson in self-mastery. Your reaction to eye contact is a reflection of your inner state. Do you feel confident, grounded, and present? Or anxious, insecure, and reactive? Women notice immediately, and once they see stability and awareness, interest grows. Not just physical, but emotional and psychological. That's where true attraction begins, far beyond the surface level. So next time she meets your gaze, remember this isn't about seduction, charm, or a clever line. This is about awareness, self-control, and presence. If you can stand steady while she tests you silently with her eyes, you're no longer just another man in the room. You're someone she notices, someone she remembers, and someone she instinctively wants to know more about. Most men completely misread her eyes. They see a look and assume it means one thing, when in reality there's an entire unspoken language hiding in the flicker of her gaze, the tilt of her head, the way her pupils dilate. Women communicate more through their eyes than most men ever realize. And if you can learn to read that language, you gain access to an insight that's rare, powerful, and incredibly magnetic. Think about this. When she makes direct eye contact, it's never just a glance. Sometimes it's a challenge, sometimes a test, sometimes a spark of curiosity. There are micro-expressions hidden in her eyes, tiny shifts that last fractions of a second but reveal everything she's feeling. A subtle widening of the eyes could mean surprise or intrigue. A slow blink might signal comfort and trust. A brief narrowing may be skepticism or assessment. Most men miss these signals entirely because they're too focused on their own nerves or trying to craft a line to impress her. That's the exact opposite of what she's seeking. Here's a truth that can change the game. She's watching not just your face, but your energy, your posture, the steadiness of your breathing, the calmness in your movements. These all feed into what her eyes are silently saying to her mind. Women sense authenticity on a deep, instinctual level. If your confidence is fake, your fear will leak through and she'll detect it immediately. But if you're genuinely grounded, present, and aware, her gaze will linger longer than it should, almost involuntarily, because something about your energy tells her, This is different. This is real. And let's be clear, eye contact isn't always about attraction in the romantic sense. Sometimes it's about recognition. Sometimes it's a subconscious acknowledgement that she sees you as a man of presence, someone who stands apart from the crowd without even trying. That's a rare quality, and her eyes will reward it. She might look away briefly only to return again, drawn by an instinct she doesn't fully understand. That repeated glance is like a magnet, pulling curiosity and intrigue deeper into connection without her saying a word. Now, most men fail because they misinterpret intensity as pressure. They assume that prolonged eye contact is a demand or a challenge they have to respond to overtly. But the reality is, subtlety wins every time. A calm smile, a gentle nod, or simply holding your posture while returning her gaze. These are the signs of a man who understands the unspoken dance of her eyes. You're not trying to impress her with words, you're impressing her with the quiet power of self-assurance. That's far more compelling than any line or gesture. And here's the kicker. The eyes are the gateway to desire, curiosity, and even trust. If she feels your steadiness while meeting her gaze, she begins to imagine what it would feel like to interact with you on deeper levels. Her attention sharpens. Her subconscious starts creating scenarios where you play a central role. All of this before a single word is spoken. That's the invisible advantage most men never recognize because they think attraction starts with conversation, when it actually starts with stillness, awareness, and presence in the most primal form, your eyes meeting hers. So when a woman holds your gaze, don't underestimate it. This is more than flirtation. This is a psychological exchange she's orchestrating without words, a test of authenticity, strength, and awareness. If you respond correctly, you step into a rare space of attention and influence, one most men will never experience. The eyes are a doorway, and only those who understand the language behind them can truly walk through it. Most men never realize that eye contact isn't just a test, it's a doorway. A doorway to tension, curiosity, and attraction that can build in seconds if you handle it correctly. The difference between a man who fumbles and a man who captivates isn't charm, money, or looks. It's presence. It's the ability to respond to her gaze with quiet confidence, letting the tension between you grow without forcing it, without trying too hard. This is the invisible game most men overlook entirely. When she looks at you directly, she's giving you a choice. Will you shrink, panic, or play? Or will you stand grounded, fully aware that her eyes are assessing more than your appearance? They're measuring your inner strength, your control, your composure. And here's the truth men often miss. The more comfortable you are with her intensity, the more magnetic you become. Women are wired to notice stability in the face of attention. She wants a man who can handle the pull, the curiosity, and even the subtle challenge of her gaze without flinching. That's how attraction starts, quietly, invisibly, in the tension between your eyes. Now, subtle escalation is where most men fail. They overcomplicate it, throw out lines, or try to read her mind too aggressively. But the real skill is in the silence, in letting her energy guide the interaction. A slight tilt of the head, a slow, confident blink, a gentle nod. These are the signals that communicate awareness, interest, and control. They're small, but they pack more power than any word could. When you master these micro-responses, she begins to feel a connection she can't explain. Her subconscious starts responding to your presence, to the calm energy you radiate, drawing her in without either of you saying a single word about it. And here's something most men don't realize. Intensity is attractive, but desperation is deadly. The longer you hold her gaze while remaining grounded, the more she experiences intrigue, curiosity, and even desire. She's watching how you handle attention, and if you remain calm, she begins to subconsciously assign value to your presence. That's how attraction escalates naturally through the invisible signals of confidence, not forced conversation or performance. You become the calm center she notices, the energy she can't shake, the man who stands apart from the crowd without trying. The fascinating thing about this dynamic is how intuitive it becomes once you understand it. Women don't need words to communicate. She might not even realize she's sending these signals consciously, but her body language, her posture, and her eyes all broadcast interest, curiosity, and even a subtle challenge. And your role is simple yet profound. Respond with presence, stability, and self-awareness. That's what turns fleeting glances into lasting intrigue. What shifts mere eye contact into a psychological connection that lingers long after she walks away. So, next time she meets your gaze and holds it, don't rush. Don't talk too much. Don't panic. Let the tension simmer. Let your confidence show silently through your posture, your steadiness, and the unspoken power of awareness. If you do, she'll remember that moment, not just because of attraction, but because you exhibited something rare. A man who could hold his ground under attention, who could respond to intensity with quiet strength. That's the invisible advantage most men never even recognize. And yet, it's the one that makes you unforgettable. Eye contact isn't just about attention or curiosity. It's a trigger, a spark that sets off emotional reactions deep within her, often before she even realizes it. When a woman locks eyes with you, she's unconsciously probing your emotional state while simultaneously revealing hers. This is why most men completely misread the situation. They respond with words or actions before understanding the emotional landscape she's creating. And that's where the real power lies. Recognizing the emotional triggers behind her gaze, then responding in a way that deepens connection instead of destroying it. Here's the secret. Women are wired to notice subtle cues that reveal safety, strength, and authenticity. When her eyes meet yours, she's not only testing your confidence, she's seeking emotional resonance. She wants to see if your calmness is genuine, if your presence is reliable, if your energy is aligned with what she unconsciously craves. Every flicker of doubt, every nervous glance away, every rushed response signals insecurity. But if you can maintain composure, subtly mirror her energy, and respond with authenticity, you begin to activate curiosity, intrigue, and even attraction at a level most men never experience. Consider this. Her gaze may linger, shift, or flicker with micro-expressions that reveal fleeting emotions, excitement, challenge, intrigue, or even vulnerability. The trick is noticing, interpreting, and responding appropriately. If she slightly tilts her head, smiles faintly, or lets her eyes soften, these are emotional openings, signals that she's creating psychological space for you. Most men, in contrast, panic and rush in with words, losing the subtlety of the moment entirely. But the man who succeeds is the one who can hold space, breathe through the tension, and respond with controlled awareness that creates trust, tension, and emotional resonance simultaneously. 3 pillars of attraction that aren't built with charm or lines, but with presence. And here's a deeper truth. When a woman maintains direct eye contact, she's often seeking validation at a subconscious level. Not validation of her beauty, not attention for attention's sake, but validation that you're the kind of man who can handle intensity, who can remain calm when challenged, who can match her energy without being consumed by it. That is a rare quality, and it's something most men fail to exhibit simply because they don't understand the unspoken rules of her gaze. Respond correctly, however, and you step into a zone of influence that is both magnetic and psychologically compelling. Now, most men underestimate this power because they focus on immediate gratification, getting a reaction, a laugh, or a compliment. But emotional triggers work on a deeper, slower rhythm. When you respond with controlled energy and silent awareness, you allow her subconscious to do the work. She begins to imagine scenarios, create stories, and mentally assign significance to your presence. That's the invisible tension that builds attraction far beyond surface-level chemistry. It's why some men seem unforgettable to women, because they understand and respect the emotional language hidden in the eyes. So, Next time she locks eyes with you, don't rush to speak, impress, or perform. Instead, recognize the triggers she's sending, breathe, and respond with calm awareness. Let her feel that you're steady, authentic, and unshakable. That's how a glance transforms into fascination, curiosity, and ultimately, emotional connection. That's how you move from being just another man in the room to someone she can't stop thinking about. And that's a rare power most men never even notice exists. Most men never realize the power of a single intentional gaze. One look held long enough can communicate curiosity, confidence, interest, and even challenge, all without a word spoken. Women are wired to notice these details instinctively. Every flicker of emotion, every subtle shift in her pupils, every micro-expression is a message. And how you respond defines whether you're remembered or forgotten. Most men panic, overreact, or misread the signals entirely. But the truth is simple. Presence, awareness, and calm control speak louder than charm, money, or any clever line you could deliver. When she makes direct eye contact, she's inviting you into a psychological exchange that most men don't even know exists. It's a silent test, a challenge, a flirtation, and a measure of your inner state, all rolled into a single moment. She's assessing whether you are grounded under attention, whether you can hold your composure, whether your energy is aligned with confidence instead of desperation. Every twitch, every blink, every movement tells her something about who you are and how she should feel about you. And here's the kicker. Women remember these moments long after they happen. That fleeting connection, when handled correctly, lingers in her mind, shaping her perception of you in ways words can never match. This is why awareness is everything. If you meet her gaze with calm confidence, without overthinking, without flinching, you send a signal that resonates deeply on a psychological level. You become someone intriguing, someone rare, someone she can't ignore. Your presence becomes magnetic because it contrasts with the chaos most men unconsciously broadcast. When you understand this dynamic, attraction becomes less about manipulation or performance and more about alignment. Aligning your awareness, energy, and composure with the silent, unspoken language she's speaking with her eyes. Now, here's a subtle truth most men never hear. This isn't just about attraction. It's about respect and perception. Women intuitively assess whether a man is emotionally anchored, whether he can navigate attention without collapsing, whether he's steady enough to handle intensity without resorting to insecurity. If you pass this invisible test, you're no longer just noticed, you're remembered. You become a reference point, a standard in her mind, someone who stands apart from every other man she encounters. That's power. That's subtle influence. That's the kind of connection most men spend years chasing without ever realizing it starts with a single, conscious exchange of energy through her gaze. So, here's what I want you to do. Think about the last time a woman held your gaze. What did you feel? Were you steady, aware, and confident? Or nervous, reactive, and scattered? Here's a simple equation for you to answer in the comments. Confidence plus awareness plus composure equals how magnetic are you to her eyes? Write your answer and reflect on it. This isn't just theory. It's practical psychological insight that can transform how you show up, not just in dating, but in life. If this insight hit you, like this video, subscribe for more truths about female psychology, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Don't just watch, engage, reflect, and apply. Your presence is more powerful than you think.